Good afternoon, everyone. This is James Marzola with Business and Decision. Happy to have you as part of our ongoing discussions in regard to, in this case, digital transformation and customer capital management. We'll kick this off here in just another moment, see if there's any others that are going to join us. All right, let's get going. So again, good afternoon. This is James Marzola with Business and Decision. Our subject today is digital transformation and customer capital management. What our objective is today is really to talk about the return on investment through the return on information. And most people may not understand or be knowledgeable about what customer capital management is, but really it's the leveraging of the investment you have in your customers. And so what today's conversation is going to be around is how you can use and some of the elements associated with digital transformation, digital business transformation, and taking advantage of the capital assets you have in your customer information. So let's get started. A little bit about B&D. Our organization's been around since 1992. We're a global organization headquartered out of Paris, France. Over the last number of years, we have increased our depth and breadth as an organization. In the United States here, North America, we have offices in just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Wayne, Scottsdale, and in Montreal. One of the questions you may be asking is who is B&D and why do they think they have some information to share around digital transformation and customer capital management? Well, for the last number of years, 2014, most recent one, we've been recognized by Gartner in their Magic Quadrant as one of 14 organizations globally that have fit and have been able to satisfy their requirements around being a global CRM service provider. So I think you'll enjoy what we have to say and what we're finding with our clients over the last number of years in this area of digital transformation. So as this slide shows, once upon a time, the brand-client relationship was easy. In other words, we all interacted directly with our clients, and our reputation, our brand, was built mostly through word-of-mouth referrals, and we became very intimate with our clients on that basis. Over time, as we found in the last number of years with the advent of the Internet, and now as we're seeing the explosion of the Internet of Things, there is a long way that we have changed relative to how our customers are interacting with us and how we need to be mindful of how we're interacting with our clients. And those customers and their loyalty is really being swayed by a lot of social and expectations about the experiences that they're having with us as an organization and as our brand. So what is this thing called digital transformation anyway? There's been a lot of write-ups over the last number of years as it relates to digital transformation, digital business transformation. And so the question comes up is it the fact that you now have a website that is responsive, that allows somebody that has a mobile device to be able to see your website reformatted so that when they look at your website on their smartphone, it represents itself in a mobile design? Is it the fact that, wow, you now have a Twitter account, or you're active in social blogging, or sending information out, or maybe taking customer service information in through a social medium? Is it the fact that maybe you've got an app on and you're offering some kind of a mobile application to your customers or prospects? Is it the fact that you're really aligning your tag management and becoming interested or really taking a strong direction in search engine optimization and being able to become ranked better in in the search finds for your organization. So really, what is this thing called digital transformation? Well, from B&D's perspective, we see digital transformation as the fact that digital technologies and the ability that it can transform or affect through innovation all of these areas, but really also at the aspect of looking at it from the customer out. So really allowing an organization to put the customer and the customer experience at the center of the engagement with the brand, with the company, and allowing each of these systems, each of these separate areas on ways that you're engaging with your customers to be aligned and brought together in a central cohesive way, so that the message and the experience, no matter what the medium is, and the way that they want to interact with your organization through whatever device they want to interact with, that message, that experience, that capability is all going to be unified in the expression of your brand and your experience. So the first question I have is going to be around this question of, do you agree with our definition of digital transformation? So I've shot that out and leave that open for a moment or two for you to vote, and then we'll move on to the rest of the presentation. Okay, we're seeing the votes coming in. Just another moment here, and we'll tally them up, and we'll move on. Okay, so looks like we've got a unanimous crowd in regard to agreeing with where we're at for our definition of digital transformation. So how does digital transformation impact your business? Well, it really covers, at least in our approach, 4 distinct areas. Everything starts at the strategy level and how you're allowing your business to look at the value and enhancing that value of your client and the customer interactions. At the same time, the entire business has to be realigned, redefined, as I mentioned, by putting truly the customer at the center. There has to be a way that you're analyzing, that used term of 360-degree view of that customer and all the interactions that happen. Then organizationally, how are you lining your key performance indicators and making sure that all of the groups within inside your business are aligned across that concept of the customer at the center and how to leverage these digital systems. And then finally, putting those systems into place and being able to make sure that through a single mechanism or through many mechanisms, but a single capability, that the technologies that you're implementing are going to be able to deliver, no matter if it's customer service or it's marketing or it's in accounting or it's in supply chain management, that all those systems are interacting together to be able to technically support the endeavors that you have for digital transformation. Now, from B&D's perspective, again, we look at our approach in 3 key elements. We work with organizations on the upfront strategy side, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the coming presentation of how you want to look at aligning strategy. Secondly is the project. So now that you've got your strategy in place, a roadmap, what projects do you need to begin and accelerate and move along that are going to align that? And then once those projects are done, there's the, you may want to call it the care and feeding, but the operations side of being able to make sure that what you're doing reflects back and is accomplishing the strategy. So that's the operational side. So in that regard, what we look at is starting at an assessment level, always, baselining and being able to create those roadmaps and those specifications. The project implementation is pretty straightforward in executing on those particular agreements that have been found out and directions that have been set from the strategy perspective. And then on the other side is, as I mentioned, the activities or the operation, being able to train the staff members as well as then provide the ongoing support to be able to make sure that the organization is accomplishing the strategy that was originally put together for the organization. Now we're going to refer back to this particular screen a number of times. It's really a left to right direction for an organization. And as I said, the very first part is baselining from an assessment perspective your organization and what the drives are. Along with that, we're going to talk about strategy, the architecture, which is more of your the system side of your approach, the channels that you're interacting with your customers on, and what makes your organization unique. In other words, what are those communications, the communities, those areas that you're connecting with your customers on. And then finally, the ultimate is being able to interact in a real time with your clients so that you can engage with them in the most accurate way in the shortest amount possible. So we'll continue to come back to this slide. So the very first thing that is imperative for an organization is to really look at your internal system. So as I mentioned before, if we put the customer at the center and we're going to align all of our processes, all of our key performance indicators, the way that we're interacting, all of that really has to identify the customer as that unique person. And more times than not, we have in our businesses 3, 4, 5 possibly different profiles for a client. Could be a business and it could be the individual itself, based on their name, based on their phone number, based on maybe a couple email addresses, and we now have duplicate, triplicate data within our system. So creating a centralization really is the prerequisite for everything else that we're going to do, because we need to identify, is this Jim Marzola the same as James Marzola, the same as J.H. Marzola, the same as J. Marzola, the same as the J. Marzola that might be in Scottsdale, it could be in Wayne, Pennsylvania, it could be in Phoenix, could be wherever, and being able to identify that is the same person, so that as we have interactions with that individual, then we know that we're not bombarding them with triplicate reaches of information, multiple emails and the like. And so that centralization really for everything we're going to do forward becomes imperative in how we're going to be able to create the right experience for our customer. Secondly, then, is really the way that we look outside. So step number 1, inside consolidation in this enterprise data hub. Secondly is the data enrichment. So in other words, by knowing I have a particular relationship with a customer or with a business, do I have other information available to me that, or available about me, that as a business you can tap into? So in other words, Are there profiles about me that are out in the that have been captured by credit card companies, by other data management companies that you can augment and add to my persona? In other words, by knowing my zip code, by knowing possibly that area of where I live, being able to identify what interests I might have. If there's information that's in the public domain or available that I may have subscribed to in regard to maybe magazines that I might have an interest in reading, or books that I may have bought that are on particular subjects, enjoy cooking, enjoy cycling or skiing. So now by enhancing or enriching the profile that you have about me, there may be other ways that you can tap into other people that might have those same interests in being able to target to those individuals. So data enrichment is another element that's part of this process that we look at. Next is once we have that data, we're back inside to our organization, and we start to look at the behavior that the customer has. What are those interactions? How are they looking at data, searching my website, and being able to take and sift through that data and being in a position of saying, okay, what is the right messaging that might be associated, and if this person or a number of these people in this particular zip code or this particular profile have these characteristics, what might be ways that we can reach that individual better in regard to scorings and various models and testing. And then finally, the last is we call it do the magic. So once all that's been done, now it's really sending out and reaching out to that individual with what's pertinent to that individual. One, it could be maybe an offer for a gift card in exchange for something. It could be also maybe a discount coupon for another. It could be that when somebody comes to your website and they take an action, you're able to support them with an offer or another action that might be associated with that. But because we started at the center and we looked at creating a centralized data hub of who our customers are so we can isolate that, we start to augment or enrich the way that we're able to look at the data that is available, not only the internal data that we have, but maybe purchase data that we can bring into the organization. Then we align that with our own analytics and start to look at patterns in regards to modeling. And then the last is through that modeling, we start to do the reach out in a specific way for that individual or those particular groups. Now, you'll see here the complete model that we just got done talking about, and by looking at this holistically, it really starts to bring forward an entire new ecosystem of how you want to look at interacting and engaging with your customers. And again, when I say customers, this is both on a B2B basis, business to business, as well as B2C from a business to consumer or direct to the customer basis. Now, in continuing on, what this really brings to your organization, if you'll notice, is an overlay of data, information, and really value. It's one thing to have the data. It's something else to now transform that data into information that is useful by the organization. And then the ultimate is the value that it brings back to the organization through increased purchases by the customer. And so our drive is to help organizations, as I mentioned earlier, the return on investment through the return on information. And so the move is to continue to align your organization so that value is the ultimate performance indicator as you gather the data, as you transform it into useful information, and then bring value to the organization. So we're going to look at the first left side of this particular transformation, talk through a couple scenarios here, and then see if we can shed more light in this transformation model. So as we go through, you'll see that we're not only going to look at the assessment side, strategy, and architecture, but how that fits together with the digital reunification, or the way that you can have insight into your customer base. So when we started our business, everybody starts their business. It's pretty simple because you as a business have a direct relationship, and you really, in the beginning, have an intimacy of your client and your market. So there's a direct relationship. It could be through a store, it could be through e-commerce, but you really have that beginning and direct relationship with the customer. Well, as your organization grows, you start to realize that maybe that direct touch, or the number of direct stores that you have, or the direct salespeople you have, isn't reaching the revenue numbers or the growth that you really want to accomplish. So you start to look at an external network, a channel, some kind of distribution model where you're now selling in an indirect fashion. And so you have increased your capacity to earn more revenue, but there's elements that by doing that lead to some fog or some mist with that model. With the advent of the internet, the digitization of your point of sale. In other words, before you had people coming into your store, and now you've evolved and opened up, let's say, an e-commerce site, and now that becomes the beginning of your digital transformation and your thought process that, wow, this, I'm digital now because I have an e-commerce engine to be able to satisfy. But that's really not an entire digital transformation, as we'll see later. It's really just the first brick in the building of your bridge to create digital transformation. So as you put this together, you'll notice that we've got the traditional model. We've added e-commerce to that. We've got the external distribution model where we've got a network that we're dealing with, and then also possibly from that you also have an e-commerce where you're dealing with a digital transaction that might be supporting your distribution network. So the way that you're gathering information is becoming more complex, and not only complex, it also starts to allow you the difficulty of knowing about your client starts to diminish. So when you had that direct relationship, the knowledge of your clients was very high. As you start to move in the direction of external relationships and ways that you're working through a distribution channel, now the knowledge about the client starts to shrink, and so you have to think about ways that you're going to be able to uncover that. And so the impact of that, you'll notice from this picture, is each one of these particular lines of communication with the customer is a different line and a different way that information is trying to be disseminated and stored. And you'll see on the left side that below the line is a lot of information that is being captured by your channel or your distribution network, whereas the information above the line is the information that you're receiving from your direct relationships with your customer. So there's definite disconnect in regard to how you're able to make sure that your messaging is consistent all the way across the board to your customer. Now, one of the things that we talked about in the beginning was starting right. And again, the reality is you have to know where you're at and where you want to go to be able to make sure that you can use the most effective use of your money, your time to achieve the business results you're looking for. So in the beginning, we highly recommend some kind of an assessment, a business analysis. And the key here is looking at and looking for opportunities that are going to allow you to have richer client and customer intimacy, in eliminating the fog of the resellers. So in other words, what things can we do that even though we're selling through resellers that give us ways that we can access a direct relationship to our end user customer? It could be, for instance, a warranty card. Even though you're selling indirectly through a channel, because you have an information on who that customer is, you can offer a client to fill out a warranty card that now gives you direct access to them through phone number, through emails, ways that you can start to engage them on a direct basis so that you can start to send information about your organization, your business, added products, additional values directly to your customer. You're not cutting out your distribution channel. You're just creating a direct link so that you can understand and have a better intimate relationship with your customer. So part of that analysis starts to define your as-is, as well as what your to-be solutions are. Again, the direction of creating that roadmap and over a 2-3 year period to be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish in that basis. The second area is what we mentioned before, which is really fundamental to your digital transformation, and that's creating this enterprise data hub. And some call it a customer hub, some call it a master data management system. But really, the label is irrelevant. What's important is the fact that you've got a centralized, agreed-upon way that is going to create data quality, data completeness, so that from this particular central area, you can have a unified vision and understanding of your client, and so does everybody inside your organization. And from that, it really starts to give you improved accuracy and ways that you're able to make decisions associated with how you want to reach that particular individual and or clusters of individuals that have the same profile or persona or customer journey associated with that particular profile. Now, the thing that is fascinating is that our customers and their interactions with us is really a gold mine. So remember we talked about in the beginning, you know, the customer capital management. This is one area that I think that we need to take more insight, you know, look richer into, because every interaction that our customer has with what we offer really can make us better. And as you see on the slide here, our clients really become our customer service because, you know, they are using our products, so they can help us troubleshoot it better. So is there communities that we can put together that are birds of a feather, right, flock together? And so in regard to that, can there be a way that our customers can be used to help other customers? They are also in a position where, because they use the product, they are developing new ways in which the product can be used. It may not be used in the way we first designed it or the first purpose of the design. They've augmented it. Word of mouth, advertising, because of who they are or how influential they are, they're really becoming our proponents. And at the same time, if we're not careful, they can become our detractors. They're also our designers. they have a way of modifying our products in ways that we may never have thought about, as well as they are able to maybe knit together other products with ours and now have the opportunity to build capabilities into categories we never thought about. So unless we're really looking at the data, looking at the information, transforming that into information and understanding the value that this can bring from our customer interactions, we're missing ways that we can really catapult how our organization can grow. So as we go forward, we've talked about the fact that assessment, strategy, architecture, now the channel side of how we look at things and our uniqueness in regard to that messaging that's going out there. So from the way that we operated in the beginning, traditional channels have always been mail, telephone, maybe somebody's calling into the call center, but now as things have changed, we have more and more people that have cell phones. I've shared this in a number of sessions that I've done for organizations, is that I have a father that's 91 years old, a mother who's 85 years old, and for the last 10 plus years, all of us have attempted to provide them with a computer and be able to allow them to interact using a computer. And over 10 plus years, they have not used it, engaged with it, done anything with it. But what do they carry around with them? A cell phone. And so they have a phone that they use on a regular basis. Conversely, how many 8 to 10-year-olds have you seen, because I've seen them, that now have a cell phone? And so the gamut of a digital channel in regard to how many people in North America especially are using a cell phone or a smartphone for interaction is available to you in ways that you may not have looked at before. And so as these digital channels have started to come forward in a faster way, we really need to look at how we can use these channels and devices in order to reach our clients and our suppliers. So along with that, now we add to not only the channels, but now the segments within inside our business. We have customer service, we have support, we have marketing, we have sales, and not only that, we have different elements. So we could have an e-commerce site, we have a marketing department, we have a Salesforce automation, we may sell through stores, we sell indirect, and then we have, of course, customer service. And what ends up happening is each one of these particular groups within inside our organization have their own mechanisms on how they're reaching out or what makes sense to being able to reach out to the individual, to the customer on that basis. And not only that, but each of those interactions create its own silo of database information. And if you remember, if each one of these particular silos of information are being created and they're not being consolidated together, then information that's going out through customer service may not be timed correctly to promotions that are being established by marketing or what might happen through the direct sales channel. And what that really creates is continued confusion, because now if you are a large enough organization and you have businesses not only in the United States or in Europe, it could be China, the Asia Pac area, you now have a messaging and a complexity that's even larger for the brand. And so you can see that unless there is a consolidated, concerted effort in regard to identifying the customer on the right and being able to link together all of these silos of information, there's going to be a path of information that is going to create disconnection and degradation in the customer experience. and I know that we've all had that happen as we've called maybe a cable company or some other service organization, and we go through the phone voice response system. We put in numbers and then give a lot of information only to finally get to a live person, and they ask you to verify everything all over again. And so you try to understand, why did I just have to go through that first exercise anyway? So the other thing that is important to look at is the fact that over the next several years, the interactions that we're going to have with the brand, our customers or our customers with us and we with the companies we do business with, is actually going to grow to almost, and it could be even more than that, but let's just say it is at 80%, it's going to be human free. So we're going to interact through our cell phones. We're going to interact through our tablets, through our iPads, through still the desktop computer. But we're going to continue to use the internet or some other way of interacting through chats, through text messaging to friends, that we're going to learn about a particular brand, learn about a reputation. And as this slide talks about, that only 20% of the value from the customer's perspective is going to come from that aspect. And so the way that we handle these human-free interactions is really going to drive the perception of the value that a customer is going to have with our organization. So that's why, just to say that our digital transformation, our digital business transformation is how we handle the web, or that we're have a mobile application, or maybe we're doing some social work and we're satisfied with that, is not really hitting the bullseye on what's going to happen over the next number of years. And those organizations that get in front of this understanding of linking together all of the ways that they're interacting with their customers and looking at it from the customer experience out, and bringing those systems together and being able to link all these departments together is going to find themselves behind those organizations and losing to their competition based on these trends that are happening in regards to how people are interacting with your business. Now, the slide that shows here really is an opportunity to demonstrate ways of inconsistent messaging, because of, you'll see on here, 4 different little areas of silos of information. So in this case, I may call up and hit the customer service desk and want them to help me. Well, as I work through the product, I'm not getting the answer that I'm looking for, so maybe I'll send out a tweet and looking for help that way, and I get a response that may come back, from that perspective. And then at the same time, while I'm having a problem or trying to understand the product, marketing or through the website, I'm getting different or possibly conflicting information that is not represented from what I have reached out to the customer service team, or what might have been reached through a social mechanism, only at the end to get some type of update 24 hours later that the problem is well known and is being worked on and being solved. So as we talk about on the right side, there's a lot of disconnect. There's quick answers that may not have relevance to what our questions were, and all in all, it leaves a real messy feeling on our part in regard to does the business that we're interacting with really understand who I am and what I'm doing and Why are you trying to upsell me something when I've reached out to your customer service department and I'm trying to get a problem solved? And this is what, for all the years, the last 20 plus years, what a traditional customer relationship management system is attempted to do. Now we're in a spot where we have truly the ability to tie these together and make that a reality if we really look at our mechanisms of processes from the customer out and start to link together all of our systems through that capability. So as we roll through, the last step in our interaction is to look at the real-time way that we can address and work with our customers. Because in the sense of how we just showed, is that a customer is going to interact in different streams or different ways with our business, and with each of those systems, it has its own catalog and activities of events, as well as historic information. So if they're calling in on the customer service hotline, if they're sending us a tweet, they walk into the store, all of those interactions have a separate and distinct timeline that's associated with it. And so the key is to really understand that by creating that enterprise data hub, each one of these interactions link back to that hub in regard to identifying those interactions and being able to know now and feed those interactions back to those that are interacting with the customer. So if the customer calls into the customer service desk, has an inquiry, but then walks into the store and wants to create a point of sale interaction, there's information that has flowed back to the point of sale to be able to help the attendants inside the retail location to be able to serve that customer better, or being able to send out a proper response back through social media to be able to address maybe a concern that happened, or being able to send out a coupon or an offer to satisfy a bad experience by the customer. And so all of that is linked together now by bringing the enterprise data hub and feeding all this information and creating the way that the messaging and the information is going to flow out to that individual. So as we look at the completion, again, this is not something that is done overnight over a couple-month period. It really needs to be looked at like every transformation. It's going to take time. So there's a roadmap, 1, 2, 3 years, to start to look at how you're going to be able to move your business from the beginning stages all the way through to creating this real-time connectedness and being able to interact with your customers on that basis. So as we show here, the assessment all the way through to the final state of being able to deliver real-time interactions for your customers. So in 2015, probably beyond, what can you expect in the area of digital transformation? You'll see that there's a tremendous amount of information that's shown here in regard to how in the beginning part is to as they say, break out of the box of the way that your business is operating today and start to think innovatively, not to just make a piece of software faster or to make it a little bit better or make tweaks, but really look at your overall practices and how is that able to work better by engaging with the customer and working from the customer out with a key to driving value. It's one thing to have data, it's one thing to have information, it's really being able to derive value from the customer's perspective and being able to bring that forward for you. So with that, closing out here, that the key is to continue to be mindful that your at least our perspective, return on investment is really driven through return on your information. So thank you for your participation, and at this point we'll just open it up for any questions. Okay, no questions have been submitted as of yet. So I'll give another minute, and then we'll wrap. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for your attendance, and if you have any questions, by all means reach out to Business and Decision. You can find me through LinkedIn as well as contacting B&D, and happy to have any further up conversations with you as well. Thank you.